success of all your people. Thank you so much.
Thank you, the Secretary, Ms. Tilaka, for your welcome speech and the advice and the note that you have presented. Actually, we from the chamber, we started this project to support the industries. We realized that what you said was exactly right. Now we are in the industry 5.0, but we are not even reached even the industry 4.0, and most of the industry don't understand what their gaps and all that. So first thing first, we have to start. We thought this process will take you to enhance the knowledge of your own organization, how you're faring, what are the areas that you're strong and what are the areas that you're weak. So this is the first thing that we want to do with the industries. Actually, we as chambers and universities, we are a knowledge partner to you, and we are not an equipment partner or software partner or anything like that. But of course, for those areas, we are linked with, two reliable universities. One is lit locally, which they are already doing a lot of projects with, some of the private sector companies. And, there are very good success stories also there. In the meantime, the Western Sydney University, they have a wealth of knowledge in this area. So they are partnering with us. So this partnership purely because of Sri Lankans and the people who has gone through the local education system. Myself and even Tilaka, the secretary, we all products of the Sri Lankan university education system. We feel, that we should do some contribution to the industries to progress and develop. So that is how we started this thing. So therefore, there is no financial interest or anything like that. So people don't have to scare in the first place. Sometimes when we conduct the first session, which we call, I will mention this because Tilaka also don't know about this. They even didn't want to highlight their name when they have a question to us, because they think, that somebody else will steal their know-how and, they will lose business or something like that. But now today's situation, when you're talking, in her speech, she mentioned value chains. How do you create value chains? If you can't talk to each other, if you don't share knowledge, there's no opportunity to happen like that. Now, today we have to understand the value chain creation should be taken place firstly within the country. Then only it goes to the next level to work with the other suppliers and the other organizations globally. So if we don't even do the first one first, then for the second step, it will be very difficult. So therefore, we have to understand this process well, and we have to take it from the right spirit, right way, and go for this one. So what I want to, at the outset, what I want to tell you is, that we are no commercial organization or something like that. We are not taking any of your information and pass it to any of the other organization. And I am also more or less retired person now. I involved mostly with the federation work and, some of the social activities. So therefore, I have no interest in taking anybody's technology and start a new business or something like that. So therefore, you don't have to scare. And, the universities are there to support with the knowledge. So they are there. So there is no issue of, your technology going to somebody else or something like that. That I want to make it clear, because this is something most of the people are scared. Most of the industries are scared. We are talking to some competitor companies here. So there is no issue, because when you go back, you will work within your company and come back to us, and we will give you the results. So there you will understand whether you're weak in some areas or strong in some areas. So without having much ado, let me introduce our first speaker. Professor Krishnamurthy Ramanathan. He's a product of St. Benedict's College, Colombo. He did mechanical engineering and obtained his first degree from the Ceylon University, Peradeniya. He's a master's and doctoral degree holder in industrial engineering and management from the Asian Institute of Technology, called as AIT. Professor Ramanathan worked as an associate professor at the School of Management, Asian Institute of Technology at Bangkok, Thailand. He helped to design and run MBA and PhD programs in management and technology. He has served United Nations, designed and implemented many programs over 15 countries in the Asian Pacific region. Professor Ramanathan currently research and international consulting focus is on the transfer and participation of Industry 4.0 technologies in operations and supply chain management for enhancing competitiveness and promoting a circular economy. Professor Ramanathan currently works with the School of Business at Western Sydney University. Let me invite Professor Ramanathan to make his presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Gunawardana, for those kind words of introduction. Ms. Tilaka Jayasundara, Secretary, Ministry of Industries. Mr. Kirti Gunawardana, President, Federation of Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Sri Lanka. Mr. Mahesh Abesekara, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Industries. Ms. Inoka Dialvis, Director, Ministry of Industries. Professor Chandana Pereira from SLIT, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor and privilege for me to have been given this opportunity to share some of the work that we have been doing over the last several years in the field of Industry 4.0 and how some of the ideas that we have developed could be of help to companies that wish to transition to an Industry 4 setting. So I have about 30 minutes to start. So within these 30 minutes, I'll very quickly talk a little bit about what we have done and in Sri Lanka as well as in some of the other countries, and try to show how the action plan that will be presented shortly is linked to the work that we have done. So I'm going to start off by very quickly talking a little bit about Industry 4.0, and I'll also touch upon Industry 5.0. I then want to talk about the implications for manufacturing firms in emerging economies like Sri Lanka, and what are the dangers and opportunities that Industry 4.0 presents. And then I'll talk a little bit about the Industry 4 readiness assessment approach that we have developed and what we are trying to do in the action plan that again will be presented shortly. And after that, I'll spend a few minutes talking about a possible way forward. And then later, after the Industry 4 readiness assessment, after the action plan is presented, I will illustrate how our offline Industry 4 readiness assessment tool can be used. So let me start off firstly by talking about what is Industry 4.0. Now, this is not something new, and I'm sure many of you know this already. But just for the sake of completeness, I want to very quickly point out that the reason why it is called Industry 4.0 is that if you look at the way industry has developed across the world over the last several centuries, the advent of the steam engine, steam power, mechanization was Industry 1. And then subsequently, when electrical energy became available in plenty, mass production and assembly line operations became known as Industry 2.0. And then somewhere around the late 1960s and early 70s, the Industry 3 era began with automation, computers, and electronics. And today we are moving on to Industry 4.0, where we are talking about much more than simply automation, computers, and electronics, but we are talking about a whole host of revolutionary technologies that have come about and which are now helping companies to become more agile, responsive, and also enhance sustainable operations. As the secretary emphasized, sustainability is a very key issue these days. Now, why do we call these revolutions? Because we talk about the Industry 1 revolution, 2 revolution, 3 and 4. The term revolution essentially means that it is not just a question of coming out with revolutionary technologies or disruptive technologies as they are known, but also what is important is as these technologies come about, companies need to change the way they work, the way they produce, the way materials, information, and finance flows along the supply chain all have to be re-engineered. Furthermore, at the national level, policy innovations are needed in order to enable companies to embrace these new changes. And again, the secretary talked about some of the policy innovations that are needed with respect to finance and so on. So, in all of these revolutions that we have seen so far, along with the technologies, there also have been huge changes in the way companies work and huge changes at the national level from a policy perspective as well. Now, in Industry 4, I mentioned there are many revolutionary technologies. And some of these revolutionary technologies are things like additive manufacturing, augmented reality, big data, robotics, simulation, cybersecurity, sensors. There are a whole range of technologies. Here in this diagram, we are only seeing a sample of those. And how did the term Industry 4.0 come about? Actually, it was introduced by Angela Merkel, the former Chancellor of Germany. And in fact, the birth of the Industry 4.0 era was inaugurated by Germany, where Angela Merkel talked about the fusion of the online world and the world of industrial production. And she said, in Germany, we call it Industry 4.0. And Germany was one of the leaders in Europe. Simultaneously, developments took place in North America, in East Asia, especially Japan, and in many other parts of the world. And so the term Industry 4.0 became very popular and well known. Now, basically, what is Industrial 4.0? It has completely revolutionized the way companies manufacture, because these foundational technologies have led to what we call the creation of smart factory. And in this smart factory, what happens is machines talk to each other. They work together with minimal human intervention. So we call this vertical networking of smart production systems. Now, a company can have vertical networking within the company, but they also have to link themselves within the supply chain, from the supply side as well as the demand side. So Industry 4.0 technologies also enable the integration of supply chains. And we can now come out with new products, which are called smart products with intelligence built into it. And all the entities along the supply chain, suppliers, producers, buyers, they can all work together. They can collaborate in a very smart way. So Industry 4.0, basically what it does is it leads to the design of smart products, which we have here, it leads to digital production and also provision of digital services. Now that we have all these new technologies that have come in, what kind of implication does it have for companies in emerging economies like Sri Lanka? When we say in Germany, the companies went in for Industry 4.0, one can understand that because of their very high labor costs, automation and going ahead with a manufacturing system which uses less labor makes more sense. But what are the implications for companies in emerging economies like Sri Lanka, several of the ASEAN countries, several of the SAARC countries? And so, what we can say is we have to now understand that Industry 4.0 is operating in the era of what we may call new globalization. So, in the old globalization era, what happened was that production was carried out in large factories located in low labor cost countries. For instance, if you take Sri Lanka, our garment sector grew by leaps and bounds because of this approach. There were large factories set up in the export processing zones and elsewhere. And using the low cost labor, they were able to produce and cater to the markets in parts of the world. So concentrated production was the old globalization. In the new globalization, because of Industry 4 technologies, what is happening is you can set up small factories to manufacture the same items, and you can disperse it across a country. So we don't need a big factory from where everything has to be transported to different parts of a country or across the world. You can have many small factories using Industry 4 technologies with very few people producing what is needed in various locations. So this reduces the costs of transportation, reduces logistics, reduces the carbon footprint, and promotes sustainability. So today we are talking about distributed production. Earlier, governments encouraged cross-border trade. Trade liberalization is a very big thing. And with the advent of the World Trade Organization, I used to work for United Nations ESCAP. I was a director of one of their agencies for many years. And at that time, we were all promoting trade liberalization, talking about cross-border trade. But now what we are seeing is that because of Industry 4.0, governments are encouraging local supply. Governments in the richer countries are telling their companies, why do you want to produce, for example, in Vietnam and ship it all the way to our country? Using Industry 4.0, can't you produce it in our country? We reduce transportation costs, we improve our carbon footprint, and furthermore, we minimize supply chain disruptions. And especially after the pandemics, the COVID pandemic, when supply chains were disrupted, countries in Europe and North America and Japan, they all started taking steps to bring production back to their country. So today, while trade liberalization is very much on the agenda, on top of that, there is a layer of what we call incentives for local production. So this is something we cannot ignore. And thanks to digital connectivity, cross-border collaboration among supply chain partners, delivery of services, everything has become much easier, simpler, and less costly. So Industry 4.0 has actually triggered what we call the new globalization. Here is just an example where a company in France, which used to produce their products in the developing parts of the world, in the emerging economies, are now saying the way we have been producing in Asia would no longer be the unique solution in the long term, with large factories, thousands of workers, and we have to build our own production in France. They also say instead of 500 people, there will only be 50 delivering the same production volume. So previously in a Western country, if the wages were let's say 6, 7 times higher than in a developing country, it made sense. But now, when you are talking about only 1/10 of the workforce needed, it becomes economically viable to take production back to the Western countries because of Industry 4.0. So these are some of the issues that we have to be very careful about, and we have to think very carefully about in emerging economies. And as I mentioned, because of the COVID pandemic, uh, many of the governments in Europe and North America have started saying that we must reduce our reliance on low cost labor locations because of supply chain disruptions. And especially, a lot of the countries are using China as a low cost labor setting, and they are now very interested in taking their manufacturing out of China to other parts of the world. Although this is not going to happen immediately, we have already started seeing what's happening. For example, Apple was producing only in China. Now they have moved out and have started producing in India. And there are many companies, Japanese companies, which are now moving back to Japan because incentives are being given by the Japanese government to bring back manufacturing to Japan and use Industry 4.0. In the French Minister of Economy and Finance has called upon all the European Union governments to rethink their approach to supply chains to become more independent of the low labor cost locations. In Australia, the Manufacturing Task Force has stated that Australia has drank the free trade juice for too long and has said we have to bring back manufacturing to Australia and reduce our reliance to offshoring. Now, because of Industry 4.0, with all the advanced technologies like advanced manufacturing, artificial intelligence, robotics, 3D printing, they offer great advantages from a wage perspective and enable local production. And so we are beginning to see this happening in many parts of the world. Now, the question is, what should we be doing in emerging economies? And does this mean that all our companies are going to lose because all the manufacturing will move away from our countries back to the Western countries because of Industry 4.0? And the answer is not so simple. But what we must understand that the strategy of relying on our cheap labor to attract outsourced work from companies in richer countries will not work for long. So we cannot rely on that old globalization approach, which we have been adopting for many years very successfully. But then all good things come to an end, and we cannot rely on this for long. So what do we do? And this is where the experience of India and China gives us a lot of hope. Now, in Germany, when they started this Industry 4 movement, there was a lot of enthusiasm among the companies in Germany. And a company like Adidas, which had actually been manufacturing all its products outside Germany,
Yes.
what it did was it brought back their company to what they called speed factories, brought it back to Germany and started manufacturing there. But then what they did is very quickly, they realized that while this is really advantageous, there are instances where greater benefits can be gained by moving these factories with Industry 4 away again from the Western countries to countries like China. So they have actually, what they have done is they have relocated their Industry 4.0 factories to countries in China, and they argue that combining advanced Industry 4 technology with skilled low cost labor could deliver greater competitive advantage. So this gives us a very strong hint that our companies in emerging economies, like our Sri Lankan companies, we should seriously consider becoming strategic industry 4 partners with the firms from richer nations by transitioning to an industry 4 setting. So it is because of that that we started this project in Sri Lanka in partnership with FCCISL, with the ministry, with SLIT and others, because what we would like to see is our manufacturing companies in Sri Lanka embracing Industry 4.0 so that they can become equal partners with firms from richer nations so that we can tell them, okay, you can take your factories back, but then we are equally capable of making the same things from you for you here in our country, which will give you even greater cost advantage and greater competitive advantage. So I think that's the strategy that the ASEAN is following now. The secretary talked about ASEAN. I've been working with the ASEAN Secretariat for more than 15, 20 years. And a lot of the work that we are doing here, I'm still working with the ASEAN Secretariat. And we see that countries like Thailand, countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, even Vietnam, all of them are very rapidly moving towards an Industry 4 setting. And they're actually trying to help countries like Myanmar, Cambodia, and Lao Republic to actually develop their skills so that they can also participate in this Industry 4 movement. So the point is that in emerging economies, there is a lot of interest in transitioning to Industry 4.0. But in spite of all this enthusiasm, there is not much progress that has been made. And one of the main reasons is that many companies do not know how capable they are to adopt Industry 4.0. They are nervous, they are worried. They think that this is going to cost a lot of money. We don't know what to do. How do we start about this? How do we start this? And how do we go about becoming an Industry 4 partner? That is the worry that many companies have. So, several years ago, the ASEAN Secretariat and a Japanese think tank called the Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia, they started a project, and one of the requests they made to me was to ask me whether I could develop an Industry 4 readiness tool. So what we did is that what I tried to do is I tried to look at what was happening in many parts of the world with respect to Industry 4.0. So we did a very thorough study of what had happened in many parts of the world, especially in Europe and North America and Japan and Korea. And based on that, and we looked at a lot of the work done by companies like McKinsey, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Deloitte, KPMG, and Booz Allen Hamilton, and many of these companies. And based on all the reports that they had published, what I try to do is I try to develop a Industry 4 readiness assessment tool, something which is simple, which can be used by any company to find out how ready they are to embrace Industry 4.0 and what they need to do. And at this point, my dear colleague, Dr. Prem Samarnayaka, and Ms. Samanthi Viraba, who also joined me. And we really started a big movement at our School of Business at Western Sydney University. And they both of them have asked me to convey their very humble apologies to everyone for their inability to be here today with me. Otherwise, they would have presented some of the work that I am presenting because they have, both of them are traveling and they are overseas. So, Please accept their apologies. And I will also talk about what some of the additional inputs that they would have provided. So we developed this. I developed this Industry 4 Readiness tool, which was requested by the ASEAN Secretariat and the Japanese think tank, which was working with the ASEAN Secretariat. So that Industry 4 Readiness Assessment tool, basically what it says is that in any company, we have to assess how ready we are to embrace Industry 4.0 in the light of what we call 8 determinants: strategy and organization in our company, plant and equipment in our company, the information technology systems and data management in our company, our human resources in the company, what kind of product we are making, and then managing operations with respect to energy consumption, quality management, and supply chain management. Now, this was based on a study of what has been done in many other parts of the world. So I looked at all what they have done, and we tried to develop a very simple ratings scheme. So again, these are the 8 determinants which I just mentioned. So I'll just look at the rating scheme. I'll show you for the strategy and organization. So what I did here is this first determinant on strategy and organization. We developed 4 levels: level 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Level 0 is the lowest and level 4 is the highest. And within strategy and organization, we have here, based on the work done in other parts of the world, I'm not claiming originality for this. We looked at what everyone else has done and have put everything together. So this is a synthesis version. So the first criteria is extent of Industry 4 emphasis in strategy formulation and implementation. Within the company, how they collaborate, how funds are allocated by the company for Industry 4.0, how the company is measuring the impact of Industry 4 implementation, what kind of leadership is there in the company for Industry 4.0, and what kind of innovative activities do we carry out in our company. So for example, if you take the first one, level 0 means Industry 4 has not been considered at all. At the highest level, an enterprise-wise Industry 4.0 strategy has been implemented and is being continuously reviewed and updated. So in between, there are levels. So in any company, if the senior management team can sit together, they can ask themselves honestly, where are we? Are we here? Or are we here? Or here? Or here? Now, what I have shown here in blue is a case study that Dr. Prem and I did for a company in an ASEAN country. It's a very large company and they are very huge. They invited both of us to come and carry out the Industry 4 Readiness Assessment in their company. So we said, we'll help you, but you have to do it. So we sat there while they did this. They put together a team of their senior managers, and we were there to answer questions, but they did the rating themselves. They decided that their rating, they are at this level. Industry 4 is recognized as important and is being introduced at an elementary level into the company's strategy formulation process. Then within the company collaboration, they said that we are here. Departments realize the value of cross-functional collaboration to improve performance, and they use IT interventions such as ERP systems. Are they allocating funds for Industry 4.0 investments? They said, we are here. We have started making investments in selected areas. Then how are they measuring the impact of Industry 4? They said, we are here. We have developed a few KPIs and we are trying to see how Industry 4 initiatives that we have introduced are helping us. And the leadership here, they said, the leadership shows total commitment by being involved in implementation. And then lastly, they say that we are participating with a lot of other organizations to do R&D and come out with new ideas. So they did this rating themselves. So similarly, so this is what they have put the values here that I am showing are what they have here. This is level 2. So 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, and 3. So that is what they have put here. So the total score is 16. So now this may not be the best way to do it, but we have to start somewhere. So they said this is where we are. What is the advantage in doing this? They know that if we have to move to the highest level, we have to go from here to here to here. And in all of these, we have to move upwards. Now, similarly, they did another one for plant and equipment, and I'm not going to go through this now, but I will explain later when I show the online tool. They said that with plant and equipment, they are here, but they are somewhere here when it comes to maintenance. So for each of those 8 determinants, we have criteria like this. And when I demonstrate the online tool, I'll be able to show more. So this is the total readiness rating that this company developed for themselves with respect to all the 8 determinants. And then here you can see a diagram where up here is the maximum. And here they are with respect to each of those. So for example, when it comes to product definition, they are very poor. When it comes to managing the supply chain, they are pretty low. But with respect to strategy and organization, they are pretty okay. With IT, they have moved quite ahead. But in all the other areas, they need improvement. So now they know what they need to do to move further. Now, one of the first questions that is often asked is, should we go for robotics and everything all at once? And the answer is no. Dr. Prem and I have worked on this, and we have now come to a conclusion that it can be implemented in stages. We don't need to do everything at once. So with respect to manufacturing, we can start very slowly here by introducing some ERP, some sensors, moving on to energy consumption improvement, quality enhancement, product traceability. And then later we can move to some more advanced Industry 4 technologies and then even more. Similarly, for products, for IT deployment, for supply chain, and for all the other assemblers, we can go step by step. We can go in a phased way. So it does not mean we have to pump in millions of dollars right at the beginning. It can be done slowly. So to come to the end of my first presentation, what is the lessons from global experience? Firstly, in every company, Industry 4.0 is not the job of engineers alone. Top management must start it. Engineers can help, but it is a top management journey. So without top management support, you can't do it, because you can't say that this is industry, it involves technology, so it's the engineer's job. No, the engineers will do it, but the leadership has to be taken by top management. And as I just mentioned, it is not a big bang initiative. We can do it in phases. So when we introduce the first phase, there will be savings realized. We will make more profits. Those can then be plowed into the second phase. And when there also we start making more money, we can plow the profits and savings to the third phase. So it is not as if we have to put in millions of dollars right at the beginning. Large companies are likely to move faster towards advanced implementation of this when compared to smaller companies, mainly because they have the resources and the skills. And furthermore, in order to accelerate this movement, we need good legal, fiscal is taxation, and financial is loans and things like that, and institutional support. All these have to be designed by the government to provide confidence to companies to get the transformation started and sustain the momentum. So these are some of the lessons from global experience. So what can we do for this? There are many things that we can talk about. So earlier on, again with the secretary and other expert inputs, one of the options is that we can create a center of excellence in Sri Lanka that enjoys the confidence of both business and government to promote the Industry 4 movement. So we can have an institution which can liaise with government agencies, universities, research centers, professional associations, banks, international agencies, in order to accelerate this movement. There are many things that the Center of Excellence can do. And we have just suggested a few based on the experience that we have seen in the ASEAN countries and other parts of the world. However, before we can start doing all this, we need to first understand the Industry 4 readiness of the manufacturing sector in Sri Lanka. So that is where we are going to talk about this. This ministry decided that we should develop an action plan to make this assessment. And during this assessment, it would also be possible for us to find out what are the feelings of manufacturing companies in Sri Lanka to help them to move to an Industry 4 setting. So all this, it is in this context that the action plan that becomes relevant. So I'll stop here now, and then later, after the action plan is presented, I will demonstrate the online Industry 4 readiness assessment tool that can be used. So thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you, Rama, for your detailed presentation. I believe everyone got a very good idea of what has to be done. But as you rightly said, first thing has to start with the top management initiative, and then as a team, they have to do this process. So without taking much of time, I will get Inoka to make her presentation to explain you about the action plan. Yeah. Slide that to me. Take it from this.
Yes, technically, you can see there are two steps to it. The first is basically to be done at firm level, and the second, idea it will be the responsibility of the government to be implemented through contributions and creating the necessary infrastructure. So today I am going to present the first activity, which is to be implemented by the industry themselves. That is evaluating their own readiness to graduate into the industry 4 level, basically by assessing their readiness to the by the specific by Dr. Abnathan and his team. And now I'll go first. I will go through this brief. The action 1 to 4, 1.1 to 1.4 will show you that basic steps in implementing the activity 1, and I will go through in detail the next topic. We only conducted 2 webinars, but those were basically awareness programs. They were like one-year processes to create awareness for this industry progress tool amongst the industry sector. And the participants were the chairman of the advisory committees from under the Ministry of Industries. And then thereafter, we thought we'd conduct a more extensive program, engaging the industry sector to come forward and do their own assessment of their readiness to graduate to the industry 4 level. And this would be from today onwards, the session would be a 2-way process that is led by Dr. Ramanathan and his team. You will be doing your own assessment by using the online tool. And for this purpose, we obtained nomination from the advisory committee chairman by using selection criteria, and they sent us 10 industries from each advisory committee. There are 21, by the way, and today we have a fraction of those nominees. I think in the process, we are hoping that more will participate in the assessment process. And after today, and today is the first session, highlighted there as the 4th of September. Main purpose of today's meeting is to create awareness about the assessment readiness tool, and thereafter, from today, there will be sessions mainly focusing the factor management of your organizations, because they will have to take the policy decisions to whether to make use of this tool and to the results of the assessment, whether they are willing to implement the the decisions reflected by the result of the assessment. And there will be a short training of the companies. They will be conducted virtually most of the time. And Dr. Ramanathan and Dr. Samaranayaka and Ms. Samanthi Veerabahu, they consist of the team who developed this tool. They will guide you through the process, and through conduction of awareness programs, they will create awareness, and thereafter the next steps will be basically related to that, the sharing of the password, and also the assessment, the self-assessment being done by the industries themselves. And after the assessment, you will receive the results in numerical form, like Dr. Ramanathan presented, and the web diagram. And through the web diagram, you will be able to assess, see the gaps, like the areas that you are weak in, and also your strong points. And then you can take decisions based on the weak areas and see what you can do to bridge the gaps in order to achieve the industry 4 status. And Thereafter, that's what I explained just now, interpretation of the dashboard results and identifying the gaps of your organization. And then you will have to identify the certain activities that you will have to bridge the gaps. And there are the CEOs or the top management of your companies will have to take decisions and to which areas you will be investing your money. And there will be a follow-up session thereafter. And with that, the first activity will come to an end. And I would like to mention again that whatever the decisions that you will take and also the results of each sector will be used by the ministry and or basically the government to take national decisions on those particular industry sectors. For that, we'll be gathering baseline data again on our own from the industry sector and also by engaging the statistical officers and also the department. And we are hoping to use the macro data as well as the firm level data to take the research decisions at the national level based on the results of this analysis. So by engaging in this assessment process, you will there will be two benefits at your industry level, firm level. You'll be able to assess your own readiness as well as you'll be contributing for policy decisions to be taken at national level. So I'll be circulating this action plan in due course to all of you, and that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Inoka. I think it's clear, these are very, very simple system that we have given you some guidelines how to do it. Now the starting date is, as Inoka mentioned, it's today. So then we are going to have another meeting. So then you can immediately start with your within your company. And on the 14th, we are trying to do another online session to just see the progress and if there are any issues that anyone is facing, then we can address. It's not a session like this, we can do an online session really. So that's what we thought, 14th we will do that. Because why we have put timelines is, if there is no timeline, nothing will go right in, any place. So I believe so these are not difficult things, these we are not trying to do a separate exercise and, give data or something like that. So this is about you're telling about your own organization. It doesn't take time. It's a matter, but getting all together, the people who's involved in all these sectors, as Professor Rama mentioned, there's 8 determinants that we have created. So related people, if you take to each of those respective sectors, then these are very easy exercise. In few minutes, you all can do this. You can ask whether we are in item 3, position 3 or 4, or extremely good or extremely bad or anything like that. So whatever it is, you can give the honest opinion. So then the idea is, as Professor Rama also mentioned, it's not something, that when you know that what are the gaps within your organization, then you yourself has to take the corrective measures. We are, just trying to take the horse to the water only. Drinking is your job. So we are trying to give the assessment, this what Professor Rama showed. We'll show you that, his next presentation, he will show how we work on this tool. So let me invite again Professor Rama to give you the carry out industry 4.0 readiness assessment at the firm level through the user-friendly industry 4.0 tool. So let me invite again Professor Ramanathan. Professor Rama, over to you. You have to unmute, Rama.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, it's coming. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Can see. Yes.
All right. Now, okay. Now, this I'll now move on to the presentation of the online tool. Now, normally this tool it was used to be presented by either Dr. Prem or Ms. Samanthi, and so unfortunately they are not here today. So I am presenting on their behalf. So we will. One of the first things that I want to emphasize is this. When you in any company, when you wish to use this tool, a good idea would be for several managers who are familiar with the working of the company and who are at a sufficiently senior position to come together and sit down in front of a screen and do it as a team. This is what they did in that big company that we studied in Thailand, in the ASEAN country, where I showed you the results, and I am going to do the same thing what they did. The general manager of the company and the production manager, the supply chain manager, the procurement manager, they all came together. The head of engineering, head of IT. So they were all there together. And then they did this assessment as a team. So for instance, somebody would say, I think we should be at level 2. And the other person would say, no, I don't think we are in level 2. Probably we are in level 3. Why do you say that? Then they would discuss among themselves and then convince each other. And then finally they would all say, yeah, I think we are in level 3. So then they would do that. Now, this is very useful because when you do it as a team and you agree upon it, later on, there is no argument saying, I don't agree with what has been said. I think it should be different. So in order to ensure that there is no unnecessary debate within the organization, the CEO should appoint a team and say, you are the people who are going to do this together, the readiness assessment. It won't take very long, at the most an hour or less. And sometimes in a couple of cases, the CEO has also joined the meeting. So as I said earlier, if you really want this to succeed, commitment must come from the top. You can't leave it to a particular manager and say, okay, you're in charge. That person does not have the necessary authority nor the profile within the company for others to follow. So that is just a bit of introduction on how to get this started. Now, carrying out the readiness assessment is not difficult. So we will provide you with a link that you can see. And when you click on that link, this will be a first page that will come up. What it means is, did you participate in the industry workshop, Industry 4.0 workshop? Now, this means that there is a workshop which has been conducted to explain the readiness assessment tool. So the company would say, yes, we participated in that. Now, in which country is your company located? The reason is our tool is used by many companies in many countries. We are doing it in Vietnam, and we are doing it in other ASEAN countries as well. So that is why we had in which country is your company located. So in our case, we would go down and say it is in Sri Lanka. Please identify the subsector within the manufacturing sector. So you have a drop-down menu. So you can select in which subsector your company is. So for instance, let us say rubber
Ram,
and
your
plastics.
slides are not moving.
Sorry?
Did you click that to get the next screen?
Yes, I did that.
No, we didn't
What can
click.
you see on the screen now?
The original screen still we see.
Oh, that's now why is that?
I think probably your screen is not sharing here or something. Yeah. Rama, if you can close this and reshare again, I think that will be better.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think there is, because when I click the link,
Yeah.
I think there seems to have been some
Yes.
issue.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's on the website now, Rama. So close this screen. It's there now. Share that screen.
Can you see the screen now?
It's coming now.
Now you can see my slides, right?
Yeah, it's the slides now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We saw your other screen also in between when you're trying to.
Okay.
This is the original screen.
Can you see the screen now?
Not the tool. Now okay. Now okay. Yes.
The first line says, "Did you participate in the Industry 4 workshop?" Can you see that?
Yes, can see.
Okay. Sorry. My apologies for that. Because I think when I clicked the link, I should have moved on to this screen.
Yes.
I'm truly sorry. Okay. So when you click on that link, this is the screen that you will see. So did you participate in the Industry 4 workshop? Yes. Kirti, can you see the
Yes,
blue on the yes?
Yeah, can see.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Then in which country is your company located? We have a drop-down menu, and the reason why we have this is we are doing this in many countries. So we just thought we'll include that. So Sri Lanka. Please identify the specific subsector within the manufacturing sector. We have a pretty large number of subsector organizations. So just for the sake of illustration, let us select rubber and plastics. Now this is the first screen. Then we click on this and we move to the next screen. Now, can you see the next screen, Kirti?
Yes, can see.
Okay. Now this information is mainly for getting a demographics of the companies that respond. There is nothing confidential here. If you do not want to mention your organization name, that's okay. So let me just fill this up. Let us, I'll say, please indicate your email address. So I'll just put my own university email address. How many employees are there in the organization? Let's just arbitrarily select 100 to 199. And then what is your designation in the organization? Now, the reason here is we want to communicate with somebody in the company. So that is why we ask for the person. So even though you may do it as a team, you might say, okay, the general manager is in the meeting. So the general manager is the one who is uploading on behalf of the company, although others were also involved in it. And then we have selected general manager. So then we move to the next one. Now we start rating the different determinants. So the first determinant is strategy and organization. So you remember I showed you a table. Now here instead of a table, we have just listed all the criteria. The first one, extent of industry for emphasis in strategy formulation and implementation. Where are you? So now the team sits here and discusses where are we at what level. So in the company that we did in the ASEAN country, they said we are here in level 2. Then within the company, the collaboration, there is no cross-functional collaboration, some limited cooperation. Departments are willing to work together, share information, and the use of IT has facilitated this. Then departments realize the value of cross-functional collaboration to move forward and use IT-based interventions such as ERP systems. So they said, yes, we are here. They discussed among themselves and said that is where we are. Earlier they were saying some said we are in level 2, some said they are in level 3. Then they discussed among themselves and they decided this. Then critical allocation of funds. Have we invested any money for industry for investment? You can say has not been considered at all, because you have to be open and honest about it, because nobody is going to criticize you. This is finally the findings will be only for you. It will not be shared with anyone. So you have to be honest about this. So here in this case, the company said we are at level 3. Investments have been made in some selected areas. Then measuring the impact of industry for implementation, they said we are here after going through all this. Then when it comes to leadership, they said that the leadership shows total commitment by being involved in implementation and following up. So it was level 3. Then lastly, innovation orientation under the first determinant, they said that they have adopted open innovation, where they incorporate knowledge from within the organization and selected external entities. For instance, this company, this very large company, had given research contracts to government research labs, to universities, and they were also working with other companies jointly to develop some new technologies. So they did all this. So that completes determinant 1. Then they moved to determinant 2, plant and equipment. Now in plant and equipment, there are only four criteria. Not all the determinants have 6 criteria like the first one we looked at. Here, plant and readiness, equipment readiness for industry 4.0, they said some of the plant and equipment can be upgraded for industry 4.0 without disruption. What they meant by that is that we don't have to buy completely new plant and equipment. Some of the existing plant and equipment can be improved by adding sensors, by adding programmable logic components, what they call PLC systems, controllers, programmable logic controllers was the term that they used, programmable logic controllers. So they said they can modify and improve the performance of some of the plant and equipment. Now, when the moment they add this, the plant and equipment start sending signals which can be picked up to find out the performance of the plant and equipment. Then machine and system infrastructure, they said we are in level 2. Some machines can be controlled through IT and have machine-to-machine capability, where one machine can actually talk to another machine. Now, they had used programmable logic controllers and so on so that the machines can communicate with each other. Then it does not mean that there are no operators, but when one machine finishes producing, it will send a signal to the next machine saying, now you can start. So then the operator starts it rather than someone having to come and tell them. Then do they have autonomously guided workpieces? In which case they said here, uh, no autonomously guided workpieces are not in use, but business cases for their adoption are being prepared for consideration. What autonomously guided workpieces means, now today it is very common in many restaurants. You will find that when you place an order, the order is you can do the ordering using your your smartphone. When there is a QR code on your table, when you show your camera there, you go to a link and you can place the order through your smartphone without a waiter having to come and take your order. This way, they make sure there are no errors in the order. And once your order goes to the kitchen, they they make what you want, and then a robot comes out on wheels. It comes bringing your food to your table. Because they call it an autonomously guided robot, they call it a collaborative robot or cobot. So it saves a lot of time and effort, and these cobots are very easy to buy now. There are so many companies in Australia that make these now, and many restaurants are using these collaborative robots. They are using it in warehouses, they are using it in many places. So it's not a great technology, it is very easily available now. So in this case, in the ASEAN country, they hadn't started using it, but some of the managers were saying we should start doing it. So they were at level 1. Then the last one there is on maintenance and plant and equipment. There they were rather poor. They said we are only doing breakdown maintenance is being kept to a minimum through preventive and periodic maintenance. They have not really moved much further than that. So that is where they are with plant and equipment. Then the third one is the IT system. Now here we have 6 criteria. The first one is, do you have seamless system integrated information sharing? And in this company's case, they said we are in level 2 only, in company information sharing through the use of IT and selective use of ERP systems. Then are we using the cloud? And here they say uh, plans have been developed and some partial testing has been carried out using cloud-based software, data storage and analysis, but they have not really gone in for cloud-based solutions in a big way. Then third one, IT data security. Where are we? They said we are in level 3. IT security solutions have been comprehensively implemented within the company. Because remember, in an industry 4 setting, your IT security must be top class. Otherwise, your systems can get compromised if somebody hacks into it. Because everything is done electronically through the internet. So operations data collection for internal process improvement. Where are we? How are we collecting data? Because if you can collect data in real time, you can use a lot of business analytics tools. So here in this company, with respect to this, they are saying that data is collected digitally by most departments. Then 3.5, operations data usage. They said data is integrated with the company's performance measurement system and used for performance improvement to reduce downtime, reduce inventory, improve capacity utilization. And the last one is, what about virtualization? Are they using virtual twins and things like that, digital twins? Are they using a lot of simulation? What are they using? Computerized maintenance management systems. There are many things here. So here they said that we are in level 2. For example, they are using only SCADA, supervisory control and data acquisition, but they haven't moved elsewhere. So in some companies, they may be in a company in Vietnam, they said we are only in level 1. Another company said we are in level 0. So they know now what they should do to move forward. Then human resources, IT capabilities. At what level do we have IT capabilities in our company? Because if you want to really go for Industry 4.0, you must have good skills. So in this company, they said we are only in level 2 when it comes to human resources. Technology focused, reasonable IT skills, which means that they have to now develop new skills. Then Industry 4 digital training. Again, here they said new skills have been identified, relevant staff have been provided training, and new staff are being recruited. Then the human machine interface, where machines and humans do they interface work together. This is what Secretary talked about when we talk about Industry 5.0. Industry 5.0 is not completely different from Industry 4.0. So please do not think that because we are talking about Industry 4.0, we are talking about something obsolete. Industry 5.0 basically says we have to use Industry 4.0 so that we maximize the use of our human resources, we become more resilient in our operation, and all our operations contribute towards sustainability. That is Industry 5.0. Where on Industry 4.0, we put some additional rules saying that when you do Industry 4.0, these are the other things that you have to make sure happens. So we are not talking about anything obsolete. So within this framework itself, you can adopt Industry 5.0. So in their case, the human machine interface, they said only one. Staff use remote control devices for routine machine interaction, and skills for people system collaboration. They said we are at level 0, where we are not really, we are moved into people and systems collaborating in a big way. So once we come here, we go to the next one. The reason why I have to go one by one is unless I complete this, it won't let me go to the next determinant. So about our products. So what are we doing with respect to our products? So in this company where we studied in the ASEAN country, the big company, product customization, they said product is a standard offering. They are not customizing it. Customizing means when a customer orders a very specific property for that product, they are not able to do that. They have not come to that stage yet. They say these are the products we can make, we are selling, buy it if you want. That's the approach. So digital features of the product, again, there are no digital features in the product. Nowadays, if you are buying a printer, there are some minor digital features in the product where the printer will tell you there is a paper jam or the cartridge has run out. So that's a little bit of intelligence built into it, small digital features. But the big digital feature is when your big printer in your company tells the supplier that my cartridge will finish in another 2 days, so deliver new cartridges, or if there is a major breakdown, it sends information to the company which gave you the photocopier saying what is wrong, and then they come and quickly repair it. So you can have different levels of intelligence built into the product. So they say that our product is common, has many substitutes, there's not much intelligence built into it. And the third one, management of the product life cycle. How are they managing the life cycle of the product? They say a product data management system is being used. Whereas in some of the more sophisticated products, you can build in a lot of intelligence into the product life cycle. For example, in a Sri Lankan company, which is manufacturing very high quality superior tires for special uses, they have built sensors into the tire, and the tire itself can send a message saying, it is now time to retread me or replace me. So you can build that kind of intelligence into specialized tires in the rubber sector. And it is being done in a big way in many parts of the world where they have tires for aircraft, tires for mining equipment. A lot of intelligence can be built into that. Then we are coming to the end of this. So next one is the determinant 6, managing operations. How are we managing energy consumption? Now you can see that the moment with industry 4, if you start managing your energy consumption, you're already moving towards industry 5.0. You're enhancing sustainability by reducing your carbon footprint. So monitoring energy consumption, in this company, they said sensors are used to record energy consumption for later review and development of energy saving measures. Then with managing energy consumption, how are you managing your energy consumption? You can go to a highest level where you have IT based green technology systems are fully implemented. Remember, the secretary talked about green technology in Industry 5.0. So here we are talking about in Industry 4 itself, we have built in the Industry 5 capabilities. So that is where you have to go. In this company, they said we are only in level 1, regular energy audits. And the third one, energy systems, whether energy consumption on demand or control of energy demand, power self-generation, they are again only in control of energy demand. There are many companies where we go for power self-generation, where after some time, you can generate your own power. In fact, we did this in Sri Lanka many decades ago. For instance, many of the tea plantations were using their water available to drive a Pelton wheel and generate electricity for the tea estates. In paddy milling, in many of our factories, I used to work for the Paddy Marketing Board as an engineer, and I used to work in some of the mills. In those mills, when we mill the paddy, you get the husk. So when we start, we draw electricity from the national grid. But after we mill the paddy for some time, we get husk. This husk is taken by a pneumatic system to a silo, and from the silo it is fed into a boiler. So the husk is used to fire the boiler. The boiler generates steam, which we then drive a turbine, which is connected to a generator, and we start generating electricity. So after about 1 hour, we have enough electricity to run the whole mill without drawing from the national grid. So we have done these things in Sri Lanka many decades ago. And I'm sure there are companies still doing that. So it is not something very scary. We can do all these things. Control of energy demand. So if we set our mind, moving to Industry 4 is not difficult. Then managing operations quality management with respect to quality assurance. This company said, we are using total quality management frameworks, and they have gone for ISO 9000 certification already. So that is where they are. Then traceability, quality traceability in the supply chain. So that means, for example, if there is a quality problem, we should be able to trace back to the origin of the quality problem. So that means if you are buying from some suppliers, we should be able to even go and trace back to the supplier's delivery of substandard material. So here in this company's case, they were at level 2. Quality issues are traceable down to the batch based on both product and process parameters. So that is the quality part. And the last one, the 8th determinant, is managing operations from a supply chain management perspective. So where are we? Customer demand management and supply chain integration. Are we getting real-time information from our customer which we are using in our production? In this company's case, they said no. Some companies share their sales and requirements electronically. At the highest level, the entire supply chain is linked electronically to convey demand information in real time, and partners in the supply chain participate in collaborative planning, forecasting, and replenishment. Now, this is what big companies like Walmart in the US do, where they even have what is called vendor managed inventory. So all these things can be done at the highest level if companies want to. Then the second one is supply chain visibility and integration. So in the case of this company which we studied, they were here. Site location, capacity, inventory, and operations are visible between selected critical suppliers and customers. What that means is some selected customers and suppliers are sharing, linking their ERP systems with this company. So they know exactly what they need, how much is available, and so on. Then when it comes to inventory management, here they are only using manual systems to update inventory levels. They haven't moved to computerized systems. So when we pointed this out, they in that company, when they did this, they said, oh my goodness, we should move forward. It is not difficult to move to level 1 or 2. Why are we still using only manual systems? So the readiness assessment immediately told them what they need to do. Then warehouse management. In warehouse management, they are at level 1. There is partial automation of receiving, storage, picking, and staging. At the highest level, you can have a fully automated warehouse. In fact, in Australia, there are many warehouses which have become fully automated, including Amazon, which has set up a massive warehouse where it's completely robotized and so on. But we don't need to do all that. We can at least move to level 1, 2 for a start. Then the last one here, transportation. In this company's case, they are using their own or customer vehicles to deliver to customers. There are companies like third-party logistics. You can use fourth-party logistics service providers and so on. So once you come to all that, you have now come to the end of the assessment. So now what you can do is that information will then come to us, but you can download a PDF file. So there is a password required for that. So just a moment. My apologies. I think I'm not able to. I'm sorry, I'm not able to enter the password. But what will happen is when you enter that password, you will get a PDF file which will show all the assessments that you made. So your response will be then recorded and you can print out a PDF file for your own use. I don't know why this is not working. There seems to be some. Okay, so that is a very quick overview of that. But then what will happen is after you have completed your assessment, once we get the information, we will. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, can see. Can see, Raman.
This is the dashboard that you will be able that we will send to you. So what this dashboard will do is it will show you for each determinant, for each determinant, for each criteria here, what your ratings were, and then what is the total score that you got for each of these, what was the average score, and here you will see your ratings in the form of a web diagram or ray diagram that you will get. You can see outside here is 4. So that is the highest that you can achieve. Now here you are. Now in the company case, they were here at 2.67. That was the highest they got for strategy and organization. But if you look at product definition, they were very poor here. They are very low. Managing energy, they are only at 1. When they look at quality management, they are at 1.5. And when you look at plant and equipment, they are at 1.75. So immediately they said, these are areas where we need to take very quick action. So they knew what to do. And they started moving in a phased way. And we did this case study in this ASEAN country 2 years ago. And now they have moved much ahead by investing in Industry 4.0 technologies, by training, improving their IT systems. They have started moving forward. And they have even started developing smart products with intelligence built into it. They have cut down their energy consumption dramatically, thereby enhancing their contribution to sustainable development. They have reduced their carbon footprint dramatically because that company is a very energy intensive company. So the moment they saw that they were very low with energy, they immediately took action to correct it and they invested in that. And they have brought down their energy consumption dramatically, which brought down their cost of production. Profit margins went up. The extra profits they earned, they have plowed back to implementing further Industry 4 technologies. So what we are suggesting is that please try to do this Industry 4 readiness assessment. As you can see, it's very simple. It's very easy. And you will be able to do it very quickly. If you do it together in a group, it's much better. And after that, we will send you this dashboard. And as we have mentioned many times, we are very happy to act as a sounding board. If individual companies wish to have meetings with our team, we'll be very happy to, the team from Western Sydney University and also in Sri Lanka, we'll be very happy to act as a sounding board and talk and discuss with you. In fact, there are 2 companies in Sri Lanka where they had Zoom meetings with us to share the findings and share their thoughts as well. So we were able to provide some inputs. And as Mr. Kirti Gunawardena mentioned right at the beginning, there is no classified information and everything, there will be no loss of intellectual property. Everything will be, this is perfectly above board. And this is in a very narrow area on Industry 4 readiness assessment. So happy to take any questions. If there are no questions on this particular presentation, happy to take other questions as well. Thank you.
Since we are almost a little over the time also, if there's any questions, we'll take 1 or 2. And if there's anything, please do email to us. So then we can come back to you on that also. But if there is any, we will try to address them. Can share, yes. I will get Inoka to send the contact details also. along with the presentation. Rama, will you be able to share your presentations?
Yes, I'll email it
Yeah.
to you, Kirti.
Yeah, just email to me. Then I will send it to Inoka. Then Inoka can communicate with everyone.
Sure, happy to do that.
Yeah.
Kirti, you talked about this meeting on the 14th of September.
Yes, we spoke and, we said, by that time, get ready. If there are any questions, we'll address further. And we can show this process again if they need to clarify. Yeah.
Yes. On the 14th, Dr. Prem also will be there.
Yes.
And hopefully Samanthi can join too.
If there is no questions, then shall we move to the last item in the agenda? That's the concluding remarks by Mr. Mahesh Abhesekara, Additional Secretary, Minister of Industries.
Mr. Kirti and staff of the Chamber of Commerce and Federation of Chamber of Commerce and Industries, Professor Professor Brahma and all other invitees. I would like to thank all of you because this is the most important meeting for us for the industry sector, this program was launched in 2021. Unfortunately, we can't get our time frame because of the pandemic. So, but we held two webinars. No? So I think we can implement this program in a good manner. Then I have to. It's my duty to thank our secretary without concerns, but vision and endeavors and directions. This directions for us. It is very good to achieve our targets, and I think he has some good vision for the industry sector. He also mentioned what's the Asian countries in this program, in this implementation of the Industry 4.0, and he also mentioned what is the importance of the implementations of the SDGs and green technologies. So I think we have to think about those things to implement. Then I would like to thank our gratitude to Professor Sharma because he presented two informative presentations. First one, he mentioned how we get ready to the industry for the industry for readiness criteria. Tool assessment tool and its determinants and its criteria, and all the other he shared with us some global experience of industry for better and possible way forward. Then in the second part, he discussed about the how we use this tool, and he clearly explained what are the determinants and what are how we use the criteria. And I think you got some idea about the this assessment tool, industry assessment tool. And I again thanks Mr. Ram and the team because then the another meeting will be held at 14th. No? 14th, you can get some more idea about more information from about the industry 4. Then I would like to thank our Inoka. She presented our action plan and how we implement this one. And I think we should thank our most important people who participate representing the industries, because you are the people who implement the industry for implementation, because we can talk as a minister or other things. We can talk. Our secretary clearly mentioned, please implement these programs without talking. I think that part up to you. You have to implement the industry program, and you can get the your companies, as Professor mentioned, you can cost cutting and get more profits. Then it is for our country, our economy. So I eagerly invite you. Please implement this. Please committed this and get your company's profit and get our country up. Please, thank you very much. Again, thank you for participation.
Thank you, Mr. Mahesh Abhisekara. So actually we can conclude, I'm sure that, you'll go back and start your work immediately. So we have given the timelines. If there is anything to be adjusted, please communicate with INOCA again. And, anyway, by the 14th, I'm sure that, you all can finish that work up to that point, and we will have another session. It's not going to be a longer session. We don't have to have a long session for that. Just a very short session. In case if you have any clarifications or anything to be, to answer some of the questions, if you have any clarification that we can do. That's all we have to do. I think, as Mr. Abhisekara also mentioned, Sri Lanka, after the COVID, Professor mentioned, how the world looking at it, all the rich countries, developed countries, they are trying to bring back their own industries. Earlier it was a case of offshoring. Now it is called as reshoring. So they are bringing back their business, because many countries on the argument, why not we do here, because the supply chains got really interrupted during the COVID time. So they don't want to face this situation again. So therefore they think using the newer technologies, reducing the cost, why not they do in their country rather than doing in another place. In this scenario, I'm sure if Sri Lanka industries, if we are not progressing fast, so we can miss the bus forever. So it's a thing, that we call all the time integration and regional supply chain, all that. So all those are possible if we upgrade ourselves to the next level. So with that, I'm sure, there is a good future for Sri Lanka. Many companies can come into Sri Lanka also. Even though the doing business index is not that great, they can come, because the thing is, the companies will play a bigger role there rather than the governments. I think, this is the message that I have to give from the Federation of Chamber side. And, of course, we have the local partner SLIT, they are already in this process. They all can help you in this endeavor. Thank you so much. Rama, thank you. Thanks a lot. So
Thank
we'll
you, Kirti.
do the session then. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll email that to you soon.
Sure. I'll send it to Inoka and get her to.
No, I'll copy it to Inoka as well, because I have the email
fine.
address. So yeah.
Fine. Okay. Thanks, Rama. So then
Thank
we'll
you.
end the session. Yeah.
Okay.